Hey, Rob, Travels with Dottie here. And this video is one of many I've done about retirement, but this one's a little different. If you clicked on the thumbnail, or because of the thumbnail, you might be a little nervous about retirement, whether you're planning your retirement, thinking about your retirement, or actually in retirement. Things don't always go as planned. And the whole idea that the average individual retirement income in this country this year, or it's probably last year, I'd have to look at the article, but essentially right now is about $27,000 a year. That's not a lot of money. There's a lot of pressure on to save for retirement. You need to save for retirement. You need to do your 401k, et cetera, et cetera. Pensions, unless you're a government employee, are becoming quickly a thing of the past, if not already a thing of the past. And if you were anything like me, you didn't think much about retirement until you passed that 50 mark. Maybe that, actually for me, it was that 55 mark, where reality came and went, whoa, wait a minute, hang on. I don't have much time left. And then my first thought was, I guess I'm just gonna work until I'm 70. And that put my fears at bay for a while. And then I thought about, can I do this another 15 years? Do I want to do this another 15 years? And even if I did, why that Social Security number looks real big when you put in, I'm going to retire at age 70. What's that going to be worth 15 years from now? And what is that number going to look like 15 years from now? What does it really even look like now? And for many of us, it's not all that big a number. So I got busy and I got serious in my mid-50s about putting away 401k money. And I want to tell you, full disclosure, that 401k money, and I was really putting, especially when I hit 59 and you could up the amount that you put in, I maxed out and I put together 6 figures in my 401k. And what I did with that money when I retired is I paid the taxes on it and I turned around and paid off all my debt, so I was debt free. But it doesn't factor into my retirement income. My retirement income is, right now I took Social Security at 62. I'm 65 now. At 65, I had 2 small pensions. Those 2 pensions, let me give you full disclosure, $1,590 a month. Right? And my Social Security is $2,288 a month, starting after I turned 65, and they started taking out $185 for Medicare. And I work just enough to earn just up to the earnings limit. I work a half a day a week doing counseling. So there's an earnings limit. I think this year is about, if you are before full retirement age, you have an earnings limit. And I'll tell you what it is exactly for 2025 earnings limit. You can Google this yourself too. It is $23,400 a year. Now, if you earn over that, you need to report that back to Social Security. And I think for every $2 that you're over, they deduct $1. But you get that money back in the back end when you reach full retirement. I don't know exactly how that works, but you don't lose the money forever, but you lose that money. That's not something I'm worried about because I'm not really all that close to that $23,000 limit for the year. And that limit goes up every year. So that's not a lot of income, is it? No. And do I earn money on YouTube, sure, it's very small though. It's very small, trust me. This wasn't what I was expecting. If you asked me when I was in my 30s, working in the business world, being successful, this is what I had pictured. Yeah, that's a, a big retirement, the villages in Florida where they have golf courses and beautiful little homes and the weather's great and people drive around on golf courses and have a good time it's a party every day and it's a wonderful thing. And as I got really close to retirement, I realized I'm not going to be able to afford that. So what could I afford? I could rent an apartment, a one-bedroom apartment, and I guess I can get senior subsidized housing. So that's what that looks like. Here's a reasonable shot of what a living room in a one-bedroom apartment looks like. And the thought of it depressed me. Okay, so what you're hearing is George in the background making noise. And I have a couple of birds here that are freaking out because right above me in the overhang of the porch is a nest with babies in it. And the mom and dad birds are freaking out that George is out here. But George isn't going to do anything. I wouldn't let him. George, why don't you go back inside? If you're with me for the first time, George is my cat. Yeah, George. So I have an outline here and I haven't been paying any attention to it. I am so sorry. You know how I got into the position I was where I wasn't really sure how I could retire and see it as a good thing or a happy thing. And it was, if you want to point to anything, it was poor planning on my part. I could have socked away a hell of a lot more money than I did, and I could have been a lot more careful with the money that I did have. I was not a very fiscally responsible person, that is for sure. In some ways, it's lucky that I didn't have a family because I'm the only one that's really affected by it. Let's see. Things can happen to change your plans. You can do the right thing, you can be fiscally responsible, and you could be hit with unexpected changes in your life. Right? You could be hit with devastating medical bills. You could be hit with the illness or disability of a parent of another family member. There are lots of things that can happen to derail the financial part of your retirement plans. And that happens to many people. I think the last I saw, about 100,000 people a year have to file bankruptcy due to medical bills that are not covered by insurance. And the world's changing around us, isn't it? Housing costs still blow my mind. I haven't owned a home in over 10 years, maybe 15 or 20 years. And I look at ads bragging about our low-cost homes for as low as $389,000. I'm like, what? That's a low-cost house? And these days, I guess that it is. My first home was $100,000, and that was in a nice area, and I could have spent $70,000 or $80,000 on a home. But it doesn't do any good to go back to what we consider the good old days. Why do we consider the good old days? Because the rise in the prices of housing, when you look at what chunk it takes out of your income to service the debt on that house, It used to be, whether it was a house payment or a rent payment, a good rule of thumb back when I was an adult out in the business world was 1 week's salary should be paying for those living expenses. And that's just no longer possible. It's more like 2. It's more like double. So people are taking like half of their take-home pay, and that's going to pay a mortgage and all the associated costs with a home. And I don't know how people do it. You hear the term house poor over and over again, and that's what that's all about. So you face retirement detours. So I'm going to talk about RV life, right? And I'm going to talk about my experience with RV life. Now, there are people that have a lot of financial resources that choose this lifestyle. They're not hard to spot. I just ran into a young couple in this area that had a brand new Brinkley fifth wheel and a brand new Super Duty truck. It was all sparkling, and it had to be $200,000 to $250,000 worth of truck and RV. And they were obviously a young professional couple that had lots of financial resources, yet they still choose to be full-time, do full-time RV life. There certainly are people like that. I think that they're the minority, but they're there. The other are, on the opposite end, are people that, I said the average income was $27,000 a year in retirement. That's the average. That's the bell curve. In the middle of the bell curve, where most people are, it's close to 27,000. But out on the tail, on the left-hand side of the graph, are people that get less than $1,000, $900, $800, $700 a month from Social Security, and they weren't lucky enough to get any kind of pension benefit, and it's hard for them to find work. That is a significant percentage of people in the RV lifestyle. And I have friends that are in that position, and they make it work, and they're happy doing it. There's a lot of flexibility built into the RV lifestyle. Like that whole thing of having what percentage of your income goes to housing. Well, after you've bought the rig, and granted, it could be an old one, it could be, I have friends that have 20 and 30, and one even has a 40-year-old RV that you can get for a fairly small amount of money. But after you do that, then you have all kinds of options on what it's going to cost you to live in that RV. And you've heard me talk about these things before. Like, I spend all my summers or winters in Quartzsite, Arizona. There's long-term visitor areas in the desert where there's no hookups, but past 3 years, I've been living out there 4 months in the winter, and the cost $180 for the season. For those of you saying, oh no, they raised it to $600. Yeah, there's a big thing about that, but guess what? They haven't done it yet. I just checked online. You can still buy a pass for the 2025-26 season for $180. And even if it did go up to $600, you can go from September 15th to April 15th for $600. And you get dump station, you get water, you get a place to put your trash, and everything else you got to figure out yourself. But there are amazing communities out there in the desert that I've been a part of that are easy to join and become a part of very informally. And I can tell you that right now, the closest, most satisfying relationships I've had in the past 20 or 30 years are people I met in this lifestyle. There are, so that's the winter. What about the summer? All over the West are Bureau of Land Management areas. There are national forest areas where you can stay for free 2 weeks at a time. And if you plan things out, you don't have to drive very far between places when you move every 2 weeks. So you don't spend that much money on gas. And again, you're not having to pay rent. There are people out there on a very limited fixed income. They never go to an RV park. There's also, in Quartzsite, there are BLM areas that are free for 14 days, and people stay in those and move around those instead of opting for the $180 for what they call the long-term visitor areas. So there are people that live in RVs that enjoy this lifestyle as much as I do, if not more, and they pay $0 to park the rig. Sorry, I should have turned off my bell. I couldn't. I don't know if are you like me? Do you have problems resisting when you see a text to see what it is and what they have to say? Oh, I just did a positive news video that I released this morning on these young people in several countries, and including the United States, have created these offline clubs in coffee shops and things where you go in and you have to check in your phone and your laptop and everything, and people get together and they socialize, and electronic devices are not allowed. So what do? They talk, they play board games. They do what we used to do back in the day, and it's really catching on. People are getting excited about it. So I can see a need for it because I'm doing a video and I can't resist looking at one text that comes in. But I do have to go back to the phone because that's where I have my notes. And I live on the road. I did find what I call a home base. You don't have to have one, but boy, now that I have one, it's taken me 3 years to get one. And you're looking at it behind me, a little tiny, like little bungalow that I rent year round, but I'm not here year round. I'm here, I call it during the shoulder seasons. I'm here in the spring and in the fall. In the summer, I go up in northern New Mexico to Eagle Nest Lake and I stay there. I have friends up there, and then then I go to Quartzsite in the winter. I can change that up if I want to, and I probably will down the road. There are lots of different places to spend your summer and spend your winter. A lot of people like to camp host, like in state and national parks, and I camp hosted for an Army Corps of Engineers campground up in northern Idaho on a beautiful lake. And basically they give you a site for free for the summer that's got sewer and water and unlimited electricity for free. And I probably put in about 25 hours of work a week, checking people into sites and cleaning out campfire rings and getting sites ready and answering questions, and just really pretty easy laid back work. And yeah, I had to clean bathrooms. That was a little bit of a drawback, but I got used to it. I got my routine down, but there are plenty of camp hosting jobs where you don't have to clean the bathrooms. People always worry about that. It's not that bad. I've heard horror stories. I myself didn't encounter any horror stories cleaning the bathrooms. But that's something that, and it's a way to interact with people and have a purpose. You're a camp host, you have a purpose, and there's meaning in your life. Now, for me, I need that. I need a purpose. So I'm not can't help it now. So what's my purpose? I do my half a day of work counseling, and that gives me a sense of purpose. And I do the YouTube channel. That is a sense of purpose. And I participate in what I call a reciprocal community full-time RVers where we have each other's backs and we help each other. I may help people with, occasionally with money, or if I have a skill, I may help people with a skill that I have. I have friends that are just amazing handymen, mechanics, electrical people, and that's the way they contribute to the community through that expertise. I have a solar system on my rig. I never had to pay a dime to a professional. I have friends that showed me how to do it and did 95% of the work while showing me, and I'm able to pay that back to them, maybe with, I might buy them dinners, I might give them a gift card, I might in some way use my financial resources to compensate them, because I don't have a lot of those skill sets, though I'm getting better and better at it. So when you enter in this lifestyle, you may find yourself having to rebuild that meaning and purpose in your life. And the half a day I do per week doing the counseling, that I carried over from the job that I had before I retired, but the camp hosting and helping people out around me, those are reinventions for me. It made it sound like all I can do is flip out money to people, but I can give people rides. I can take them into town when they don't have an easy way to get into town. I can run errands for people. I can help them with minor medical things. I was a paramedic for a while. And sometimes I'm called upon, it's happened at least a couple of times, where in the community there's someone that's having a mental health crisis, and I'm a guy that they know to call to say, hey, I know you're a mental health counselor, can you help with this? And I've been able to do that. There's two major things in this retirement lifestyle. One is, I've told you, there are ways to make this work, the money work, almost no matter what your money sources are. The other thing is, you don't want to just stop there and say, okay, I can camp in these places and now I have nothing to do and I'm all by myself. For most people, that's not going to work. You have to rediscover meaning and purpose. And all I've done for you is given you a simple example of how I've done it. And there are many other ways to do it. And some of the avenues can be discovered through other RV YouTubers. They're out there. There are tons of them and you watch their YouTube stuff and you can discover how they are finding meaning in their lives. And many of them share with me that part of it is doing a YouTube channel, because what I'm doing right now, sitting in this chair, isn't nothing. I look at it this way. If I do a video like this and I give encouragement or relief to only one person that's watching and listening to me, then I found my meaning and purpose in what I'm doing today. That's all it takes, is one person. And probably every video, at least one person gets on the comment and says something to the effect of, thank you, I needed to hear that. I appreciate that. And so that's what keeps me going. Trust me, it's not the ad revenue. So anyway, let me see, I went 24 minutes. That's not too bad. If you have any questions about any of these things, put them in the comments. I'll do my best to answer the questions, and people in the comments also might jump in and throw some advice your way. So take care, and I'll see you all on the next one tomorrow.